that was the last job I had to quit, was Guitar Center, because we started touring. And I called my boss and I was like, I know I've been taking a lot of time off for touring, but they want me to tour for like the next 3 months. And he's like, yeah, you can't work here.
I'm Adam, and this podcast is about you, your journey in music. We'll talk about obviously the new project you have. And I don't know if you mind touching on Red Sun Rising, because I know it's a part of your story, but we won't hang there.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, that's part of my journey. So it's all good.
Okay, awesome. Well, why don't you tell me where were you born and raised?
I was actually born and raised in Akron, Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah,
the LeBron James.
LeBron James. I was
definitely
around. I think I was like in 8th grade when he was a senior in high school. So I remember those days clearly. He really that city up for sure.
Oh, sure. Did you like? I'm curious. My family's from Cleveland, so.
Oh, nice.
Like LeBron, or I did. He won the championship. He came back and won the championship, so I can't hate him too much.
He said he was going to do. That's for sure.
Exactly. I don't know. I'm curious to know if, like, when he was in high school, if people probably knew in the town that he was going to be like a big deal, and like we're like the high school games, like.
Oh, I mean, I remember
when so to speak.
Yeah, they moved the. He played for St. Vincent, St. Mary, which is downtown Akron, and they had to move their games to Akron U's like arena. So,
whoa,
yeah, cause like ESPN started showing up and everything, and yeah, it was real. It was pretty crazy.
Did you ever go to those games at all, or just?
Yeah, I went at Akron U. Yeah,
that's cool. That is so cool. I knew my cousin's friend knew, because he's a year younger than I am. So my cousin's friend, this is so off topic, but my cousin's friend went to high school with him, and he got him a job. LeBron got him a job, like when he got onto the Cavs, as the guy that ran out on the court and like squeegeed it in between plays.
Yeah.
I thought that was so cool.
I got to do that a couple of times. I used to be really into basketball, and when you were kids, that was like a cool thing you got to do, like at the Cavs games or like the Akron U games. Yeah, I remember that. The sweeper.
Yeah, you get to run out with the squeegee and squeegee the other side.
Are you in Akron?
I'm in Nashville now, but I'm originally, actually, I was born and raised in San Diego. My parents moved from Cleveland to Dayton, actually. Dayton, Ohio, to California when my mom was like 8 months pregnant with me. So it was like this close to being raised in Ohio. My dad's his job. Yeah, I escaped. Didn't even know. But yeah, so I was born and raised in San Diego. My family and I just moved to Nashville about 7 months ago. We love it here.
Oh, that's awesome. It's a good move.
Yeah, we dig it. So born and raised in Akron, Ohio. How did you get into music?
So when I was younger, it was always just around in my house. My mom had a piano. It was like an old, I think it was a Steinway. And, every Saturday she would just sit down after she cleaned the house pretty much, and me and my sister would do our chores. She would do hers, and she would sit down and just play piano for like an hour. That was like her like reward every Saturday to herself. Mm-hmm. And so I was always around it. And I was always like, curious with the piano, tinkering around on it. And then I fell in love with guitar because like one of my buddies had a guitar, and I was like, I just want to like play loud like he is. Mm-hmm. Know how to really play it. He was just like, dude, check this out. I can make all these noises. So when I was 11, my mom got me a guitar, and I like fell in love with, just trying to learn every guitar, back in the day when you'd look up the tabs and all that. And
sure.
I had some lessons, and I was like, I loved Eric Clapton. That was like my first like guitar hero. Mm-hmm. And then I met some buddies in school, and we started a band, and I was like, I feel like I was in a band from like 8th grade on at that point. I was just like always jamming with somebody, playing some like local gigs or battle the band, stuff like that. So it was I just never kind of stopped.
Mm-hmm. Were your bands like cover bands, or were you always writing original songs?
I started an original band. We would do some covers. And then even Red Sun Rising, when Red Sun Rising first started, we would do like Led Zeppelin and CCR, some classics, and like Alice in Chains, stuff like that. So, and then we could go play at the bars, and like we would open for ourselves. Like we would play cover set and then we play an original set. That's kind of how we started.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So you'd play two sets, one of all covers and one of all original songs.
And that's the way that we got those bars to like agree to let us play. It's like, all right, we'll play you an hour and a half of covers, but we got to play 45-minute set in the middle of our own stuff.
That's cool. That is cool. And so when did Red Sun Rising start? Were you still in high school?
So I had just gotten out of high school. I was going to Kent State University, actually. Okay. And so it was right after that. I think it was like right at the tail end of my freshman year of college is kind of when Red Sun Rising started.
Okay. And did you start with people that you're going to college with?
No, it was actually a guy that went to Talmadge, but he was a year or almost 4 years ahead of me. So I didn't really know him that much in Talmadge. I just knew he went to Talmadge High School with me. Mm-hmm. And we just kind of met through a mutual connection. He was looking for a singer. I was looking to jam with somebody, like nothing serious. I wasn't thinking like, I'm going to college now. You know, I was like, I'm not going to try to like do music. I want to focus on college. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we started playing gigs, you know, locally, a lot at Kent State. That's kind of where Red Sun Rising kind of got their first push, was at at Kent State playing gigs. And it kind of went, and I was so engulfed by like playing gigs. I didn't want to concentrate on school anymore. That was
sure. It's funny, that cousin I told you about, whose friend was the guy buddies with LeBron who came out and squeezed you the floor. She went to Kent State also. Oh, it's a cool, super party school, right?
Party school and a very like liberal arts. So it was a fun school to be at.
That's cool. So you met this person while attending Kent, or were you like home in Akron, or?
I was actually home, just visiting my mom. I mean, Kent's not that far away from Talmadge. And I was at a gas station that I would go in all the time to get gas. That's like right around the corner. And it happened to be right around the corner where his parents lived. So we like ran into each other, and I think he was like, "Hey, you're Mike, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And we had a mutual friend. Like one of my friends was his older brother was friends with him. And we just started talking. And so the joke was always like Red Sun Rising started in a gas station, but
okay.
kind of the way it happened. So we were just like, yeah, we should jam together sometime, blah, 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 blah. And it just kind of went from there.
Okay. And you started playing shows, you said around Kent. Did he live, like, how close is that to where you grew up? So
Kent's like 25 minutes away from Talmadge.
Oh, so it's not horribly far. Like no, you could drive and practice and then play shows at the school.
Exactly.
And
I lived pretty much on campus. So like our first shows in Kent were like always packed, because I would just get like all my friends at college to be like, hey, come down here. And we'd play this one club. It's actually the same club that Joe Walsh used to play at JB's. Whoa. And we used to just pack it out. And the owner like loved us. Like, you guys can play whenever you want. Cause I would just have all my buddies show up, and they weren't even real fans. They just wanted to come and drink and party.
Come hang out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And then what was like kind of the first, like from there, where did the band go? Like, what was the first victory that kind of took you to the next level?
Kind of grabbed that market, if you will, for lack of a better term, the Kent State. And we started like playing some shows over in downtown Akron. Mm-hmm. And then they had, every city has that like outdoor amphitheater that they bring in tribute bands every summer. And they do like, you know what I'm talking about? Did you ever have anything like that? Well, Akron was big on that.
Okay.
Every year they had these big tribute band amphitheaters, and it was a kind of a built-in crowd. So we just kind of weaseled our way into opening for these tribute bands, and there'd be like a built-in 5,000 to 10,000 people there.
Yeah, we had in San Diego, there were some pretty big cover bands, but they would always be on the same bill with other like tribute bands.
Yeah, so we like weaseled our way in there and be like, hey, we're the biggest band around here. We're originals, but we'll open for the tribute bands. And that's how we did it.
Oh,
and we
wow.
like literally built a following in Northeast Ohio, just like opening for tribute bands at these big amphitheaters.
That's cool. I mean, what was it like playing those big stages?
Oh, I mean, especially like right out of the gate, it was, you kind of got spoiled a little bit by it, but then we'd go play a club and it was like, this feels more right. Mm-hmm. We were like young and just wanted to be loud, and we weren't like super professional about anything. So, the clubs felt more like home, but those had all the people.
Sure. Tell me about signing with the Razor and Tie. How far along down the line did that happen?
So we actually met a management company in Cleveland that we caught their eye because we were, again, opening for these bigger shows, and which led us into opening some shows at the House of Blues in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And they saw us and immediately started chopping us around. They knew some guys at Razor and Tie. I wish I had the president of Razor and Tie to tell this story, because he tells it a phenomenal way. He signed us. He's like, I'm flying into Akron, Ohio, which I've never been to see this random band that I'm supposed to see. And he did. The president flew in with his
wow.
We had dinner at this like little dive place right by the venue. And, it's raining. It was like something out of a movie. He's like, I show up, it's like this grungy venue, and I walk in and it's just packed. And we had to put a show together for them for a showcase. And we had like 5 days to do it. So, I mean, we're just texting everybody we can. Be like, just show up, just be there. And it was packed. And we played like 4 songs, and they signed us that night.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was literally like a movie.
That is crazy. That's crazy that they flew the president out to come check you guys out. I mean, obviously, whoever was pioneering the band did a really good job of, getting this person excited about coming.
Totally. Yeah. So it was a heck of an experience.
That's amazing. And then, so you signed and then you have 2 #1 songs off your first record.
Right. Yeah. Right off the bat.
That's incredible.
And the funny thing is, the first one, the other side that went #1, that was kind of like a tastemaker. That was the label's pick. And they're like, just put it out. We'll see, what kind of people, what kind of fans you guys that gravitate towards you. And we wanted Emotionless to go out first, because that was like the song we were super proud of. We thought it had a stronger identity. Mm-hmm. And the label's like, well, this other side kind of has a reminiscent of Alice in Chains, and I think people could connect to it. So we're like, all right, fine. We'll trust you. This is our first label deal. It goes #1. And so we're like, all right, so now can we put out our song that we want to put out, which was Emotionless? And that one goes #1. So like, we were extremely grateful for how that panned out.
Yeah. I mean, and when it goes #1, I mean, you're getting airplay on the radio and everything else, I'd imagine, right?
Oh, for sure. And I remember we were on tour opening. I don't even remember who it was at the time. And I just remember each night, more and more people knew the single and were singing it back, and in towns we've never been to. This was like our first real tour. And it was just like, I'll never forget that feeling. And it was just like unbelievable. And we couldn't wait to get to that song in the sex. We're like, yes, let's see how many people know it tonight. And we're in, Tulsa, Oklahoma or whatever. So it was just pretty amazing.
That is great. It's wild to think of like the power of, I mean, well, it's different now, but at the time, like radio and stuff like that. Yeah. That's where I come from, is radio. And
by your voice.
The fact that if a song gets on the air, I mean, it changes the band. I mean, it's weird, because now you think, like, I mean, I'd be on the radio like, who the hell's listening to this? Like, but people were mindlessly driving around, and then once it becomes a song that gets added into onto a radio station, it changes, your whole career.
It did. And you're right by saying like, it's not so much anymore, and which is kind of sad, but I feel like we were right at the tail end of when that started to change. It really did wonders for us and got us going. And we're extremely grateful for all the radio people that have supported us over the years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like you said, you'd show up to a different town and people would know that song probably solely from at that time, maybe the radio, right?
Totally. Absolutely.
That's amazing. And then you put out what, three records with Razor and Tie in that band?
We did 2 full length, and then a single and an EP. So not that much music, honestly, which is really crazy to think about, for the amount of touring we did on those 2 records. Was astronomical. But yeah, we didn't put out that much music with Razor and Tie, or in general.
Yeah, I mean, once you have the song on the air and you're doing, like, were you getting pretty big opening slots on tours?
they just got bigger and bigger. I mean, the first one, while the song was getting, before it went number one, it was just our first song out. We were, first of 3 or 4 on the bill. And, once that song went number one, and then we had the back-to-back number ones, like our time slot, like just get bigger.
Sure.
And we got higher on the poster on the festivals, and it happened real fast. It's like totally a blur now when I think about it.
Mm-hmm. Did you get a chance to finish school at Kent State, or did it happen too quickly and you guys just had to hit the road?
Fast, and I got about 3 years in, and it became a full-time gig. I mean, it took up my entire life. So, hindsight, I wish I just would have finished. I was so close, but it's like, I could have given up on the journey that I took,
Right. And college is something you can go back to if you really cared to,
totally.
Right? I mean, you're not going to lose your credits, which I'm actually surprised they still do. They haven't taken that, right? Oh, it's been 3 years. Sorry, you got to start over. I was going to ask you, like, at this, you must have been working, like a part-time job or something while you're going to college. When did you have the freedom to quit what you're doing?
My mom's a assistant to the president of a food distribution company.
Oh, cool.
And so she's like, you want to work in the warehouse? They have jobs in the warehouse. I'm like, all right. So I was like a warehouse worker for a while. Then I worked at Guitar Center selling guitars. That was kind of the last job I had while I was going to school and right before I got signed.
Okay.
That's when I had to quit. That was the last job I had to quit, was Guitar Center, because we started touring, and I called my boss and I was like, I know I've been taking a lot of time off for touring, but they want me to tour for like the next 3 months. And he's like, yeah, you can't work here.
But they're probably stoked for you, right? At least it's a different atmosphere than if you worked at some like accounting firm and you're like, peace, I'm going to be able to join this. I'm in this rock band and we're going to tour the world. They would be like, what?
I still have some of my best friends that, that I see from Akron that I worked with at that store, and they're always supportive.
That's cool. That is really cool. So this band, the current band, The Violent, started during the lockdown, right?
Yeah. So as Red Sun Rising was kind of coming to a halt in 2019, we did that final summer of festivals, and me and Dave and Pat, who were also in Red Sun Rising and now are in The Violent, we had always joked about doing a side project 3-piece. And, Red Sun Rising announced a hiatus, and long story short, like, me and the guy that started the band just stopped agreeing on things, and it was not worth trying to push through it. It was just better to go separate ways. So we were like, this is the best time to do it now, because this is done, and at least indefinitely. And then the pandemic happened. So we started working on songs, and the pandemic happened, and it became like fuel on the fire, because it's like, now there's no excuse not to work on this, and we can devote a ton of time to it. And that's what we did.
Oh, my mic was being weird there. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen it do that. It just stopped working. It's quite the Zoom.
Yeah.
So you guys went on hiatus before the pandemic hit, and then when it happened, it was like, okay, well, now we have a ton of time to really focus on this.
That's exactly right. And so it was kind of, but it became like a blessing in disguise, for sure.
Sure. And do you write the record over the course of the last year and a half? And how do you work on it? Like, is it all virtually? Like, tell me about that experience.
So like, I have like a box account, or like a Dropbox.
Yeah, box. Okay.
That's kind of like where I've had always like put my song ideas. Like, even if it's something I record on my cell phone, I put them in there and I label them. I'm actually pretty organized with my songwriting. And when that happened, I was like, I had all these songs that could have maybe been Red Sun Rising songs. And then I have all these songs that probably wouldn't have worked for Red Sun Rising. And it was like a blank slate. So I just started showing the guys, like, do any of these songs like inspire you? Do any of these songs like something you want to work on? And so we narrowed it down to like 5 songs, and that's where we started. Like, let's just focus on these 5 songs. This is before the pandemic. So we still had our manager from Red Sun Rising, and he's like, let me find you a producer to work with. So we found Albert DiFiore in Nashville. So we went to Nashville. This is like right before the pandemic happened, like January, before they did the lockdown. We did 1 session down there with him. And right after the pandemic happened, we're like, we didn't finish these songs. Like, how are we going to do this? So we had to all pretty much invest in like way better home recording situations. And we did that like all remotely, like through a shared cloud and like through Pro Tools. And I was singing tracks in my closet to like deaden the sound.
Oh, wow.
Like it was challenging, and it took a long time because it's not instant. It's like,
right. You have to adapt completely to something totally new.
Right, exactly. And that's what we did like that whole year. It's like that whole year was like a black hole, just working on songs remotely.
Were you in Nashville when the pandemic hit, or had you already been home to
I had already been home,
regroup or something?
I remember them talking about it on the news, and just like everybody else, we're like, this is going to blow over. Like, this is maybe a few months of this or whatever. And then it just going and going and going. And, you know, I'm so thankful that we had the Violent to work on, because I probably would have gone insane if I didn't have that outlet, or, you know, be able to just produce songs and start releasing stuff. I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah. So you had a lot of time you said there's 5 songs that you began with.
Yeah.
Are those the ones that made the EP?
Yeah. We actually haven't even released them all. That's the funny part. Like, we only have 4 songs out now. We ended up doing like 3 batches of 5. And the only one from that initial session that's been released is Fly on the Wall, which was the first song.
Oh, really?
So the other ones kind of got put on the back burner. Some of them didn't get finished completely. Some of them took the back seat to ones we thought were better. And we just kept doing batches of 5. And then, you know, the beauty of releasing it the way we are is we're releasing 1 song at a time. So we didn't like commit to, here's the first 5. And we were like, put this one out, see what it does. What would be a good follow-up to this? It was like playing chess. And we've never really had that opportunity to kind of sit back and do that.
Yeah. Cause well, when you're in an established band, right, people are kind of expecting a record.
Totally. And so is the label. They're like, all right, you need to put these out and start touring now.
Oh, right. I didn't think about that. They're not going to be like, oh yeah, go ahead and release 1 song and hang out for a while. So now being completely independent do you feel like tell me about that? How much different is it?
It's a lot more work.
Okay.
But it's like a labor of love. So you are everything. You're your marketing machine. You know, we do have a management, but we do all the marketing. We have to build our own like social media assets. Like, that stuff we would typically like pass off to the label. You know, we got to set our own schedule of like, when do we want to release music? And, you know, I kind of got addicted to that side of it too, like the digital marketing side. Cause you know, after those first 3 releases, we couldn't even play a show if we wanted to. So it was like, how do we connect with fans? Like, do we digitally stream? Do we continue to just put up digital marketing assets to connect with them? And so that was a total challenge, especially because no one knew us. But at the same time, it was like totally liberating because nobody knew us. We could do whatever we wanted.
Right. And how did you tackle that? I mean, did you do live streams or just really push the song, you know, whatever song you put out, like Fly on the Wall, for example?
Fly on the Wall we sent to radio, and just kind of piggybacked on connections we had with Red Sun Rising, but we told them hush as to who it was. And like, just don't tell them we're from Red Sun Rising. We want to be our own band. And it worked in our favor because a conversation started. People were like guessing who it was. Like, who is this? Oh, it sounds familiar. It's got to be Mike from Red Sun. Because like, you know, as the vocalist, I can only change my voice so much.
Right. You have a pretty distinct sound.
So a lot of people recognized it immediately if they were Red Sun Rising fans, but a lot of people didn't know who it was. And it created this conversation through the social media, which actually really became a brilliant marketing strategy that we didn't actually intend on happening. We just wanted to put it out there and see what happened.
Wow. And have you guys played a show yet?
Yeah, we just played our first show. We did a live stream for SiriusXM. And then our first show in front of real people was Louder Than Life. It's a festival in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah. Wow. Talk about a first show.
It was a heck of a first show. And it was just like, I'm still buzzing off of that. Just like, man, now I have the itch to go play again.
Mm-hmm. When you did the live stream, what was that experience like?
So that was interesting because like I said, we recorded all these songs, or the majority of them, remotely.
Mm-hmm.
So, back with Red Sun Rising, it was like, all right, everybody get in a room and let's jam on this part and figure it out. Like, we didn't have that luxury.
Mm-hmm.
So we were just sharing files. And that was the first time we got to play the songs actually together.
Was during the live stream?
Yeah. So like we did,
wow.
We did 2 days of rehearsal before that, but it was just like, yeah, we were like, we got to play these together for real now. We've only played them through the computer together. So that was definitely and I think if you watch the live stream, you can see, not that we're concentrating, but we weren't in that like no look pass mode yet. Like we were still like thinking about what we were playing. We were.
Sure. Well, you've been in a band with these guys in the Violent for a number of years, right? With Red Sun Rising. Is it different playing on stage as the Violent? Like, is there a different vibe? Like,
it's definitely a different vibe than Red Sun Rising, but I think our personalities, the three of us, are the most like-minded. Mm-hmm. And I think that helps for the overall vibe of what the Violent is. So it's a little more chilled, a little more laid back than Red Sun Rising was. And we kind of like that. And it's those guys, when we would tour as Red Sun Rising, it was always us three together.
Oh,
so
okay.
It was comfortable to be on stage with them, even in a different setting. And now with the other things eliminated, it just feels like a tighter unit. So I think in a lot of ways, it's much, much healthier.
Okay. And you've done that big festival. Do you have plans to tour as the Violent and really support what you guys have put out so far?
Yeah, I think we're going to try to get, we only have the 4 songs out. We're going to try to get more music out, hopefully by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And then come out swinging in 2022 and put out some more music then. And then our goal is to really tour in 2022, at least put some more shows on the books, and be a little more aggressive with that for sure.
That's awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear the rest of what you guys are doing. I love the songs you have so far out, which are amazing. So, and I appreciate you taking time to talk with me today, Mike.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. It's great.
I have one more question. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
There's a lot you can do yourself. And it might seem like it's moving slower and it's a lot of work, but I would try to do as much as you humanly can before you get other people involved.